there, this is Elizabeth from Gabriel Family Adventures, and today I'm going to share with you a review of an excursion we took while we were in Bogota, Colombia, where we went to Guadalupe Hill as well as La Chorrera Waterfall, which is the 6th largest waterfall in Latin America. So I'm going to give you a rundown of how we booked the excursion, how to get to the Guadalupe Hill as well as the waterfall, our experiences along the way, and then overall what we thought of it at the very end. So here we go. All right, so I had read a lot of reviews online about different excursions that you can take in and around Bogota, Colombia. So one of the things we did while we were there was we went on the Bogota bike tours, which I'll link below. It was really fun and a great way to see the city. And we loved doing that. We loved being in the city. Bogota has over 8 million people, so it's just this vibrant, incredible place. But we also wanted to get outside of the city for a little while. And so what we did was we had read on TripAdvisor and some other websites about these awesome waterfalls you could go see. So the day of our bike tour, we actually started calling around looking for tour companies that were available the next day to take us to the waterfall. Now, some of you who are planners, that would have probably made you crazy that, you can book it well in advance. We could have booked it weeks before, but we just wanted to make sure that we all wanted to go and do it. So we waited until the day before our excursion. We ended up having to call a couple different tour places and booking. We finally found one. When we booked, I decided to use my credit card because I feel like using a credit card in foreign countries is a good idea because you just have that extra level of protection. If you pay someone cash and they don't show up for your excursion, they just took your cash. But if you have a credit card, you can call your company and you can dispute it. So I just feel a little more secure. We have a card that doesn't have any international fees. So we just put everything on that. We can keep track of everything, make sure there's no fraud. So we booked the day before. And what the booking company told us was that they would meet us at a hotel near our Airbnb the next morning at 8 a.m. So we decided to rent an Airbnb in Bogota, which I do recommend because they are incredibly affordable. You can book them in really awesome, super safe districts of Bogota where there's lots of restaurants and nightclubs and fun things to do. And we were spending for a 2-bedroom updated condominium about $70 a night, which was incredible. So we were staying in an Airbnb, but what the company does is they pick up at hotel lobbies. So they just sent us to one about 3 blocks away. So that morning we walked over there to get our shuttle. The tour guide was a few minutes late, but that's to be expected because Bogota, since it's such a huge city, there's traffic all the time. So it's really difficult to get anywhere on time because you're just always stuck in traffic. So be mindful when you're in Bogota, leave super early for anything that you do. Unless you're on foot, then you'll know how long it'll take to get there. But our van showed up and our tour guide was this awesome guy who was fluent in Spanish and English. He had actually studied English in the United States for a while, and so he was really interested in American culture, and we were talking a lot about, the differences between Colombia and the United States, and so he was a really engaging person that I was happy we were on our tour with because it is a long day. I read on a few different reviews that, getting out to La Chorrera Waterfall, it's only a 4 to 5 hour tour. It's not necessarily true. So let me just explain kind of how the tour worked and how long everything took. So, like I said, we got picked up a little after 8 o'clock. And then what we did was we went through the city to head out to the mountains, and we drove past Montserrat, which is a very popular chapel that you can take this gondola up to. It's a beautiful view of Bogota. But what we did was we actually went up the mountains even further, and our first stop was a place called Guadalupe Hill. And it took us a little while to get there because you do have to go through the city. You're in a little bit of traffic before you can head up the mountains. So once you're in the mountains, you're out of traffic, which is great, but now you're on a super windy road, and you're going to be on a windy road for a long time. So Guadalupe Hill is where there's this beautiful statue of the Lady Guadalupe, and in Spanish it's called, let me just get this right, the Santuario de Nuestra Señora de Guadalupe. And the initial building was actually made in the 17th century, but a series of unfortunate events, including earthquakes, have changed things in the area. And so in the mid-1900s, the statue that is there now was erected, and it's this beautiful statue of Lady Guadalupe. She's looking out over Bogota, and what I loved is from that vantage point you get this incredible view of the city, and it gives you a sense of scale of what 8 million people looks like, seeing all of these buildings and all of these sections of the city. And we looked down and we saw where we had been on our bike tour the day before, and it's incredible. And what was exciting was that because we were going on a weekday, it was just us. There was nobody there. It's really busy on the weekends from what we've read and from what our tour guide told us. But if you go on a weekday, it's you guys. And there were a few maintenance workers who were doing some painting and stuff like that. So we had it all to ourselves. We wandered around and took a bunch of photos, and it was great. And then we got back into our van and we started the main portion of our tour, which was to head out to El Chiflon. El Chiflon it takes over an hour or two to get there from the Virgin Guadalupe. And part of that was because we did run into a few things along the way. At one point, there was some road work where they just closed the entire road for quite a while, and there's no other way to get there from where we were, so we were kind of stuck. And then as we kept going, the road was so windy that unfortunately my husband and my friend Anna got really car sick, so we did have to pull over a few times for them. And then at another point, we got a little lost in a town. So then our driver had to kind of figure out where we were. And then we had to stop and get some food and drinks for our car sick friends. And then we finally made it to El Chiflon. And how you get there is the vans have to park in this designated area where there's a little store if you want to get some snacks. Then you hike up over a hill, and it's pretty steep. And then you head down into the park entrance. At the park entrance, you do have to pay a fee and watch an informative video about the waterfall and the area and a little bit of history about the area. Unfortunately, the video is all in Spanish for those of you who don't speak Spanish. There are subtitles, and I was able to, it's pretty straightforward information. I don't have a ton of Spanish ability, but it was pretty easy to understand. You know, don't litter and be mindful of, you know, where you're walking, because there are these, you know, this is beautiful habitat, so don't wreck the place. Those were the suggestions. So after you watch your video, you head out on your merry way along the trail. And our tour guide came with us throughout the entire tour. And so he told us some more history of the area. He helped translate a few things that maybe we missed in the video. And he took us to our first sort of visual, beautiful destination, which was our first waterfall, and that is El Chiflon. And so El Chiflon is a smaller waterfall, but it's very beautiful. And so if you have limited mobility, but you really want to see some waterfalls, you can actually hike to El Chiflon and then hike back to the park entrance if you're interested. It's not a very long hike.
We are to the first waterfall in Bogota. Bogota. There's DJ. There's Gabriel. There's Whoppers. Boogies.
Well, I thought she was Whoppers too.
This is me doing an active excursion.
Dead people.
What's beautiful about El Chiflon is you can actually walk behind the waterfall, and so that was a lot of fun, and we kind of went around that and took some photos, and then we started up the hill to go see La Chorrera. So La Chorrera, it will take you a little while to get there, you know, maybe 45 minutes to an hour, depending on how fast you move. And so we got up to the waterfall, and you can get all the way to the base and look 1,900 feet up to the top of the waterfall. It's just incredible. It is such a magical experience to be there, the water pounding on the rocks, it's so loud, and it's worth the hike. It's muddy, so definitely make sure that you have comfortable shoes. I recommend running shoes. Hiking shoes are ideal, but it's really hard to travel with hiking boots. So if you don't have those, do bring tennis shoes. I do recommend having exercise clothes. I don't think it's a great idea to go in shorts because you're gonna get muddy. So as long as you're dressed kind of in workout clothes, you'll be fine. Just don't wear flip-flops. And it's roughly, I did keep track on my watch, from where the van parked to El Chiflon and then to La Chorrera and then back to the van. It's about a 5-mile round trip hike. So it's, if you pace yourself, you can do it. People of all ages can do it, but it is kind of a strenuous workout, and I loved it. I thought it was great. It's totally worth it. All 4 of us, we just had an amazing time. So I do strongly recommend it, and I think it's well worth the drive, especially if you don't get car sick. Then it's a breeze. On our way back into where the park entrance was, there's this little sort of house area with a couple of tables and chairs, and a Cuban guy lives there, and he cooks food and makes Cuban mojitos. And so we stopped there for an early dinner before finishing our hike and heading back on our windy road. And so we had some delicious Cuban food, which was kind of funny to have Cuban food in Colombia, but it was great. And he was really entertaining, really nice guy. He showed us some dance moves, and we had our dinner there, hiked back to the van, and started our long winding journey home. The time we got home was approximately 5:30 or 6 p.m. and part of that was because once we got back into Bogota, we got stuck in traffic again. So you're gonna be in traffic for a while, you're gonna be on the winding hills for a while. It's a long day. So it was about 8 o'clock to about 6 o'clock for the entire excursion. And then you get home and you definitely want to shower and change out of your muddy clothes. But I think if you can escape the city for a day, it's an incredible experience to see the countryside, to see just this natural beauty and enjoy yourself in Bogota. Do remember that, if you're thinking of South America, you might think, oh, it's gonna be hot. Well, remember that Bogota is in the mountains, so bring some layers because it is a little cooler there, and have a wonderful time. If you enjoyed this review, please feel free to subscribe below, and I'll be posting regularly reviews of different travel excursions that we've been on and ones that we're going on in the future as a family. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.